From She-Ra to Mothra, nerds are passionate about a lot of things, but there's something they love above all else, and that is correcting people. This is Actually. Joining us today, we have Shane Crown.
Hello there.
We have Jon Gutierrez.
Kapla.
And Allie Beardsley.
Put that thing back where it came from. I'm so happy.
We can't use that. We don't have the rights for 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 that. Well, here is a fun thing about this episode is that all three of you at some point have either won an episode of Actually or tied for first in Actually. And that's going to be the case for our next two episodes as well. The winner of this episode will face those winners in a final Tournament of Champions. Tournament of Champions! Well, you've all been here before. You've all won one before, so you know what's going on here, but in case you don't, these are incorrect statements about the things that you know and love. It's up to you to buzz in and correct me. Your corrections must be preceded by the phrase, actually, and you can interrupt me whenever you want. How's everyone feeling?
Doing pretty good.
Confident.
A little fearful, I'd say,
All right.
going up against champions.
Yeah.
You know?
So champions in very large quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows who you're competing against last time you won? It could have been a bunch of dum-dums. Don't roll tape. Don't imply that I called anyone a dum-dum. We will roll right into it then with our first question.
Bring it, Trap.
Here we go. Yeah. I will bring it. I'll bring it straight to you.
I wasn't prepared for someone bringing it.
It is 5 a.m. and I'm on one.
I've lived my whole life not bringing it in a very mild manner. That's kind of how, that's why I like a lot of this stuff. So if someone's going to be bringing it, okay, here we go.
I just do this all sports.
Yeah.
Hands on knees, bring it.
Female Smurfs are extremely rare in the Smurf village. In fact, the original animated series has only 3 female Smurfs, Smurfette, Sassette, and Nanny Smurf. This is because female Smurfs are born only once every 30 years.
Actually, there's a Mama Smurf.
Mama Smurf? Mama don't know.
If there's a Papa Smurf, isn't there a Mama Smurf?
You'd think that's a nice parallelism, but no, Papa Smurf is just, he's a single papa.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, I remember that episode where they really dive into him eating alone.
A very special episode.
Off of his stomach.
He's got like a wife beater on. His hat is like hung up in the corner, just like, I don't know.
Eating noodles.
Yeah. Brainy Smurf, I think, is the only one who's gonna make it in the world. No, that is incorrect. Shane beat Goots to it.
Actually, there are only 2 female Smurfs.
No, that is incorrect. Goots.
Actually, Smurfs aren't born, and Smurfette and the female Smurfs weren't born either. Nana Smurf, I can't remember the origins of, but Sassette and Smurfette were both created by Gargamel's magic, so they're not born every 30 years.
That is correct for the most part. I think there might be some errors in there, but you have what I was going for, which is that Smurfette was created by Gargamel, is not born. Sassette, I think, was actually created by other Smurfs who were using Gargamel's magic. But female Smurfs specifically have to be created by magic in order to exist.
Problematic Smurfs.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I remember reading that Peyo was really sexist during the creation of the Smurfs.
Yes.
And they asked him, like, we need to come up with stuff that Smurfette can do. And then he was like, why? I mean, she already tempts the other Smurfs and causes problems. That's enough. And then you're like, well, they need to be more proactive. And he's like, is she a gym teacher?
Oh my God.
Yeah, lots of problems there. Well, that is a point for Goots on deep Smurf lore. So we'll move on now. This is kind of a general sci-fi, alien-related question. A recurring feature of alien invasion stories is the discovery of a banal weakness of otherwise invincible aliens. In the Animorphs series, Yeerks are driven insane with addiction if exposed to instant maple and ginger oatmeal. The aliens in Mars Attacks are weak to the selenium in Head & Shoulders shampoo, and the aliens in Signs are destroyed when they come in contact with water. Goots.
The aliens in Mars Attacks are not weak to Head & Shoulders shampoo. They're weak to the yodeling of, I believe, Wailing Jennings or country music.
I don't believe you said actually. Is that correct?
No!
So I am not going to say anything. I'm not going to reveal whether or not you're correct or not, but I cannot give you the point. Shane?
Actually, the aliens in Mars Attacks are weak to music. I think it's just music.
Goots was more accurate than you are, but you said actually. This feels like a travesty.
Actually,
I'll give you
in
the.
signs,
You're just like they're definitely way wrong.
they're both way off. Let me clean this up, okay? Actually.
Gosh, what is just here? What is just and right in this screwy world? Because Goots was certainly more correct, but well. What you said was not wrong. I guess, Shane, you get the point. This feels bad, but here we are.
I don't know why I changed it either, because he said it was right. I was like, let me see if I can be more right.
Yeah. Let's see if I can be more right by being less specific.
I was trying to justify stealing the point because I felt bad about stealing the point. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, if I steal it, I can at least add something
It's
to
like
it.
it's like a dumb high schooler like learning what plagiarism is for the first time, where it's like if I change one word, that's fine. No. Well, I'm going to give you the point. It is the aliens of Mars attacks are weak to a very specific song. It is a yodeling country song, but the song is Slim Whitman's Indian Love Call. You got the specific name wrong. You just said music, which is generally untrue, but it was true that it was a specific song. I guess I'll give you the point, although...
I said just music.
Just music.
Specific
I
in how
believe
vague
it was just
music. Well, we'll still give you the point, a spiritual point for Goots, which doesn't mean anything, but you can at least have the satisfaction that you were a little bit closer than Shane was. And
We're all tied up, I guess. Looks like we're all three
hold
of
on a
us.
second.
Woo!
Well,
Tight.
here is a question. Here's a video game related question for all y'all. Some of the most famous Nintendo characters are named after real people. Mario is named after Mario Segale, who was Nintendo of America's warehouse landlord. Kirby is named for American lawyer John Kirby, who defended Nintendo in a lawsuit. Princess Zelda was named after artist Zelda Flannery, who created several iconic Nintendo game covers. Yes, Allie.
Actually, Kirby was not named after a lawyer. Kirby was named after something else. That's the one that's
A
wrong.
vacuum. No, in fact, Kirby was named after
Damn.
American lawyer John Kirby. But you can look at Kirby and see that guy looks like a lawyer, right? Little...
I do feel
Your
like I
Honor.
had a shirt of Kirby holding a briefcase.
It'd be if you got arrested and you were like, I need a lawyer, like you gotta say something, and then like Kirby walked in and it'd just be like,
I'd be like, fuck yeah.
Just sucks it.
Yeah.
Grows a judge's wig and has a little gavel.
This
I'm gonna
sounds
be
great.
All right.
Yeah.
You gotta make Kirby legal games.
Good Kirby Law and Order.
In the criminal justice system. No, that is incorrect though. Yeah. Goose.
Zelda wasn't named after
You
the
gotta
artist.
say I'm actually my
actually-
man.
I just went through a
You
traumatic.
killed me here.
I just went through a
Allie just
traumatic
didn't want
learning
Shane to
experience.
hear the point.
I'm gonna have a heart attack. It's 5 a.m.
I've forgotten the lessons of the show already. Actually,
Yes.
Zelda wasn't named after that artist. She was named after 1920s bon vivant Zelda Fitzgerald.
That's entirely correct. You were ending with a bit of a guess, but yeah, Zelda Flannery is just a name I made up. It's not an artist who did anything. And in fact, Zelda was named after 1920s wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald, Zelda Fitzgerald.
Wow.
Makes me really want a Flappers of Hyrule, like Zelda edition of just like it's all set in like 1920s jazz age America. Yeah.
You must assemble the parts of the Algonquin Round Table.
Bunch of fairies with like long cigarette holders.
Hot.
That's a point for Coots. You gotta watch out for those. Allie's not gonna look out for you.
I can't
No, I can
protect
count on
you
you,
much
right?
longer, okay?
Someday you'll be all grown up, and I won't be around to protect you.
I gotta go to work, son.
Well, we will move on to our next statement here. Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, based on the Arthur C. Clarke novel of the same name, takes place largely on Discovery 1, a spacecraft controlled almost entirely by the computer HAL 9000. Shane,
Actually, the name of the ship is not Discovery 1.
what is the name of the ship?
Oh no, I thought you were gonna ask something like that.
Yeah.
The name of the ship is Curiosity 12.
Well, I'll say that's not what's wrong with it. I just wanted to see what you would guess. I wanted to see if you would have a nice, fun answer for what a spaceship might be. So no, it is in fact called the Discovery 1. Goots.
Actually,
Yes.
thank you. It's not based on the book by Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick developed the story together, and neither of them based it on each other. They just came out at the same time.
That's correct. Yeah, it wasn't. It was the screenplay and the novel were written simultaneously, and they both shared authorship credits on it.
Fuck,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
I know. They just worked on it both together.
So it's a movie novelization.
It is an Ouroboros of like a novel based on a movie and a movie based on a novel. They both orbit each other.
It was just born
Yes,
from nothing.
it just came to be. Well, that is another point for Goots. And this brings us to our first shiny question.
Woo.
Now, shiny question, like shiny Pokemon, worth the same number of points, just a little bit different, a little bit rarer. Although, as one of our viewers pointed out, it is not the exact same rarity at which shiny Pokemon occur. It is far more common than the rarity of shiny Pokemon. We're not changing anything, but thank you for that. These are technological sounds across parts of sci-fi. It's up to you to identify the piece of technology that you're hearing when you hear these sounds. Whoever can identify the most bits of tech will get the 1 point for the shiny question. Cool?
Cool.
Great.
Great. Let's hear that first sound.
I believe that's the Next Generation transporter from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I didn't even need that much specificity. I was just looking for the transporter energizer. But yeah. That is in fact what that is.
Oh.
And I normally preface this for shiny questions. You don't have to say them actually. You didn't anyway, but it's still fine. It's still fine because it's a shiny question. I'm saying it just because I'm not going to be here forever. You're going to be on your own. You're going to be
Like, I gotta go to work.
You're going to be
Goots.
correcting someone, and I won't be there.
I
and I need
work
to
in
know
the security shack.
Let's play the second sound here. The second sound. Shane.
This is the alien sound from War of the Worlds.
It is not the alien sound from War of the Worlds. Goots.
Actually, just covering my
Just
bases.
kidding, yeah.
That's a lightsaber.
That is a lightsaber. Yeah, keep it real simple.
Why did my brain hear it differently?
Stupid brain, hearing things differently. So let's hear the third sound. What is this? Goots.
The TARDIS.
That is the TARDIS, yes. That is the sound of the TARDIS. Let's hear the fourth sound. Shane.
That's just metal being cut.
It's the amazing technology of metalworkers.
Yeah.
This is for the metalworkers of America. We appreciate the technology you use every day in building our skyscrapers and our homes. No, that is not correct. Goots.
I was gonna say it's the constant screaming that's in my head all the time, but proton packs from Ghostbusters.
It is the proton packs from Ghostbusters.
Holy-
Yes, it is.
This is wild. I think I won because I tied once on a 0-0 with Zach, and here I am, 5 a.m. I tucked my kids in right before I came to work this morning.
Ready to get slaughtered.
But the important thing is you'll always be there for me, right?
Yeah, I'll always be there for you. In a way, it's like we're both winning.
We're a team.
We're a team. This last one, let me just guess
There's
ahead
two
of
more.
time.
There's two more. So let's play the second to last one here. Shane.
Those are the doors in Star Trek.
Those are the doors in Star
Yes.
Trek, yes.
Ooh.
The amazing technology of doors that open automatically in Star Trek.
Or just a person behind the set.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It's the labor of a stagehand.
Yeah,
That's what we
really.
hear.
We appreciate our stagehands here at actually for opening our doors and moving all our things. Let's play the last sound here. Goots.
I believe that's a Cylon from the original Battlestar Galactica.
That is a Cylon from the original Battlestar Galactica.
Good
That,
God.
that, Okay, out of 6 sounds, 5 of those were identified by Goots, 1 by Shane Crown. Allie, I'm sorry to say.
You know.
Well, I think it's.
Have I seen even any of those shows? No.
But do I know those sounds? For sure.
For
I was,
sure, I
was
know
a
the
little
sounds, I know
slow
the
on the buzzer.
sounds.
That happens sometimes, you know? God, it's early. It's
I was
3 a.m.
beat, you know. It's 3 a.m.
It keeps getting earlier every time you
yeah.
mention what time it is. Gosh, it's yesterday already. Well, I think it's pretty fair to say that is a point for Goots. Point for Goots in this first shiny question. Well, it wouldn't be actually if you weren't correcting me. Here are our favorite corrections from you.
At Suit Up and Games says, actually there was a Nintendo piano. The Miracle Piano had games on the NES and the SNES featuring a working piano. It was on Apple, Macintosh, Amiga, Sega Genesis, and PC as well. But the piano had an official Nintendo seal of quality. 1 point for you, and 1 point for anyone who also pointed out that Switch Labo thing. And from our Dropout Discord, Sky Bison said, actually in the poem The Jabberwocky, the creature is a Jub bird, not a Jub beast. That's right, I was actually thinking of the Simpsons adaptation of The Jabberwocky, in which Selma has a Jub beast, which is, of course, her pet iguana. 1 point for you. I'm sorry. And Liam White 181 says, actually, you guys said a tuba for Bamf and then mimed a trombone, just to be a shitty little asshole who loves his instruments. Well, you are a shitty little asshole, and you get a shitty little point.
A comics question for you. In DC Comics' Kingdom Come, Wonder Woman and Superman ask Batman to be the godfather of their expected child while meeting at the Justice Luncheonette, a theme restaurant where waiters dress as famous superheroes and offer kitschy menu items, such as Mixia's Pitalik Mozzarella, Starro the Casserole, and the Man of Beefsteak.
All that sounds so silly.
What's the silliest thing in there? Yeah, Allie.
Actually, it's not called kitchenette.
What? So, no. No, so what were you saying?
Now I'm wondering if I misheard it. What's the luncheon?
The Justice Luncheonette? Mm-hmm. And you're saying...
And what's it called?
What?
Who was it made by?
What are you saying?
Actually.
Yes.
It wasn't the Justice Luncheon?
That's correct. I mean, you're still not saying the right word. I said the Justice Luncheonette, and it is incorrect. That is not what it's actually called.
Yes, and it is called kitchenette. It's called KitchenAid, and it's a standing mixer.
You just throw a bunch of superheroes in there, you turn it on, and you get the Avengers. Or Justice League. I'm sorry, you fucking nerds. You're correct. It's not called the Justice Luncheonette.
I know I'm right.
You know,
Look, I
obviously.
came into this room ready to spearfish.
Okay. Now, I desperately want to give you a point, but Goots has buzzed in. I kind of want to see if he actually knows. I will
Is
say
it KitchenAid or
it's
is
not
it
called KitchenAid or
Frigidaire?
KitchenAire. It's not-
I'm unsure. Okay, I'm on the fence.
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's not either of those. I'll give you the point unless Shane or Goots can tell me the actual name of the diner that they were in.
Actually, it's a theme restaurant called Planet Krypton.
That's correct.
Damn it.
No.
It's so, see, I heard kitchen.
It's very close.
Kitchenette. But I meant Planet Krypton.
Do you want a point?
No, please.
I can give you a point.
couldn't. No, it's 3:30 now.
Yes, they didn't meet at the Justice Luncheonette. They met at a theme restaurant called Planet Krypton. That was an awful lot like Planet Hollywood, but was instead like a sort of like superhero themed kind of Planet Hollywood thing.
What the fuck? And wait, the whole premise of them meeting was what? To be Batman's gonna be the godfather of their child?
That's correct. Yeah,
That's funny.
Well, I mean, who better than Batman? If
But
I could let Batman be the godfather of my child, I would.
Yes, that's not. I'm like, who goes to a themed kitchen restaurant to be like, will you be the godfather?
That's you would expect
We're
like
both surely gonna die. We have very dangerous jobs. This is essentially your kid now.
Yeah, you would think they would go to like a real classy restaurant or
steakhouse.
something. Yeah, it's Batman. It's like that guy's got money. You know, he's not impressed by this shit. Like it's like come on down to the Cheesecake Factory where I can ask you a very important question about. Yeah, well, it's a point for Goots, kind of for Allie, but a spiritual point for Allie.
Spiritual point. Yeah, thank
Allie.
you.
So you are tied with Goots for spiritual points.
Great. Oh, cool.
Okay. Are you stressed right now? Probably, right? Do you experience anxiety? chronic pain? Do you have trouble sleeping? Probably at least one of those, right? I personally have trouble sleeping. I wrote a whole sketch about it years ago. It's still online. You can find it if you want to. If any of that sounds like it applies to you, check out Feels. Feels is premium CBD delivered directly to your doorstep. You don't even have to leave your home, which is good because leaving your home is kind of a big cause of anxiety right now. Feels naturally helps reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness. When I'm worried I won't be able to sleep, I use Feels to make sure I get a good night's rest. Then, I don't need to worry about being groggy the next day. I just need to worry about literally everything else in the world. You just place a few drops of Feels under your tongue and you can feel the difference within minutes. And Feels offers products with different CBD levels, so you can find the amount that feels right to you. Maybe you're like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what it's supposed to feel like. I don't know what I'm doing. That's okay. If you're new to CBD, Feels offers a free CBD hotline to help guide you through your personal experience. Plus, they provide QR codes that link to lab tests of that batch, so you know exactly what you're putting in your body. Feels works naturally to help you feel better. There's no high, no hangover, no addiction. It's delivered right to your door, and you can pause or cancel anytime. Become a member today by going to feels.com/actually to get 50% off your first order and free shipping. That's feals.com/actually. Get 50% off your first order and free shipping. Automatically applied. One more time, that's feals.com/actually. Back to the show. Here's our next question.
It's 1 in the morning.
Roald Dahl is probably best known for his original work, but he also wrote several screenplays based on the work of Ian Fleming, including You Only Live Twice, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and Octopussy. Shane.
Actually, Ian Fleming wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Ian Fleming wrote the book Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but Roald Dahl did in fact write one of the drafts of the screenplay. So what I said was correct there.
They weren't written at the same time.
They were written at the same time. Roald Dahl and Ian Fleming sitting down and be like, "What's the deal with this car?
At a
What's the
fucking
deal with this car?
intelligentsia.
It's a magic car that flaps around." No, yeah, very strange. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang written by Ian Fleming, but true. Yeah. Goots.
Actually,
Yes.
I don't think Roald Dahl wrote Octopussy. That was one of the later Roger Moore ones. So I think it was past the time Roald Dahl was writing screenplays.
That's correct. Roald Dahl did not write the draft to Octopussy. He did, however, write a draft of the screenplay of You Only Live Twice. So yeah, lots of weird stuff going on there. Ian Fleming wrote the book Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Roald Dahl wrote a screenplay for You Only Live Twice.
Explains the chocolate factory scene.
And it's one of the most racist James Bonds, which is saying something, really. But that's the one where Sean Connery is turned Japanese and lives as a Japanese man for a while.
No way.
Yeah, it's really horrifying.
That's what happened.
Yeah, but you're right. It does explain the chocolate factory scene.
I've always wondered about
Now,
it.
007, you got to retrieve this microfiche from the chocolate factory. Now, I must warn you, the owner is trying to kill you. That's a point for Goots, identifying that Roald Dahl did not write Octopussy. Here's a Harry Potter question for y'all. In Harry Potter, wizards do not choose the form their corporeal Patronus takes, and the form never changes, since the Patronus represents something intrinsic to the wizard's personality. Harry shares his Patronus with his father, a stag, Remus Lupin's Patronus is a wolf, and Draco Malfoy's Patronus doesn't exist because he can't make one. Shane.
Actually, Lupin's Patronus was not a wolf.
Does that feel a little too on the nose?
It felt a little on the nose.
Well, that is correct. I mean, it is correct what I've said. You are not correct. Remus Lupin's Patronus is a wolf. He's a werewolf with a wolf.
There's something intrinsic to Lupin about a wolf.
Sure,
That
but
doesn't
there
make
might be
sense.
something about him that is a little wolf-like.
He has some wolf-like qualities.
It could be his name, the fact that he turns into a wolf, and many other things. But yeah, that is the case. He's wolf all over.
Yeah, he never had a chance.
Yeah. Allie.
Actually.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
I
You know,
will.
That's what this show's all about.
This show could be called Correct Me If I'm Wrong.
You said your Patronum can't change, but someone's did.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I can't, and I wish I could be like, and in the third book. But yeah.
I'll give you the point. Do you want to take a stab at it? Do you want to take a stab at just guessing who it might have been?
No.
Okay.
No, I can't think.
Goots, do you know?
Was it Snape's? Was it that his Patronus, I think, changed to a doe because of his love for Lily Potter? I think at the end.
It wasn't Snape. You're correct that Snape's is a doe, which is also related to Lily Potter. And it's a similar kind of theme thing you're going for, but it was actually Tonks. Tonks
yeah.
used to be a rabbit, and her Patronus changed into a wolf, reflecting once again her love of the wolfiest guy around, Remus Lupin, who is just, man, that dude is like. You know how there's like horse girls? That's a wolf guy, you know? It's like he's got a bunch of Lisa Frank folders that are just wolves all over.
3 wolf shirt.
He's doodling in class.
I
It's
was a
just
wolf
this
guy.
wolf.
I watched a documentary about wolves and got so obsessed with them as a kid that I made a den out of blankets and my mom would give me my food on the ground. Which honestly, shout out Crystal Beardsley. That must have felt very weird.
You really, really supported me a lot.
And I would howl, thank you.
Sliding things. Yeah. What would be the worst Patronus, you think, to like if you were like learning the spell and you nailed it and then it was like, here it is.
Snail! Like, I guess I'll just carry this.
Yeah.
It's not gonna follow me.
Yeah, cool. Glad I summoned this thing.
It's sad that Tonks had to change her Patronus when she got married. Like her name wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Just the patriarchy in the wizarding world.
I guess I'm his now.
Why isn't my Patronus a ball and chain while we're at it?
Point for Allie. Point for Allie.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, Allie on the board. And this next question is our second shiny question, which is a game that we call Spelling Bee. Spelling in English is hard enough. Spelling in sci-fi and fantasy, even harder. So we're gonna give you a name of something from science fiction or fantasy. First person to spell it correctly will get the point. Your word is Parthenax. Parthenax. It's the dragon from Skyrim. Parthenax is your word. Yeah.
P.
I'm not gonna tell you if you're right along the way either. This is spelling bee rule.
But I am gonna maintain eager eye contact.
I'm gonna see if I can like hint.
P. A. R. T. H. E. R. N. A. X. X.
Incorrect.
Fuck! We did share a moment, right?
Yeah,
A
we
hot
did.
mom.
Oh, they're always spelling Parthenax wrong on my fucking coffee.
P.
Maintain the eye contact.
P. A. R. T. H. J. E. R. N. A. X.
Incorrect.
Wow. Margot.
It's Nordic.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
Parthenax, Parthanax?
That is incorrect. Sorry, no points for this one. The correct spelling of Parthenax is P-A-A-R-T-H-U-R-N-A-X.
Wow.
It's a double A in Parthenax.
Think of that sad dragon trying to find a name tag at like a keychain store.
Yeah.
Parthenax with one A.
That's not how I spell it. It's like a Caitlin problem. Like we spell it a bunch of different ways, but this is how I spell Parthenax.
I spell Caitlin with 2 A's, and everyone hates me.
Hey, we make mistakes here too. If you notice something that we got wrong, you can tweet us at @actuallyshow and tell us. We might even give you a point. Here is a question from Marvel Comics. One notable villain yet to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is MODOK. While MODOK was originally an acronym for Mental Organism Designed Only for Killing, there have been other versions with different specializations. These include MODOT, Mobile Organism Designed Only for Talking, MODOG, Mobile Organism Designed Only for Gambling, and MODORD, Mental Organism Designed Only for Roller Derby. Shane.
Actually, MODOG was just a dog version.
You're the Mo now, dog. MODOG was not a dog, but you have identified the thing that is wrong here, which is that MODOG is, there's something wrong with MODOG on the list. It's not a dog. You were joking around, so I will give you a chance. If you want to try to identify what's wrong with MODOG.
All I can think of is MODOG as like a dog riding around.
On a moped?
The G is for gifting. It's a good gift.
You've once again
Giver.
identified what's wrong with it, which is that the G is not what it's supposed to stand for, but it's not gifting. I feel like I've given you a lot of chances here. Allie.
Actually, the G must stand for grace.
Mobile organism designed only for grace. Just saying grace. An evil villain who's just very pleased with the spread that was laid out before
Garbage.
them. That's not garbage. You know what? I'll give it to Shane for identifying where the wrong thing was, even if he couldn't get it. I said that that MoDog was a mobile organism designed only for gambling. In fact, MoDog was designed only for genocide.
Whoa!
A little less fun than God or grace or gambling or dogs, just a big old dog. The other ones are true, including Modord, who is the mental organism designed only for roller derby.
I feel like every animator just draws like a woman in the middle of a sex act and then throws clothes on them and is like, this is how women fall.
It is the only way I see women, right?
Yeah.
Right, guys? I wouldn't know it any other way, right?
I'm gonna draw a woman coming and then be like, this is her scaling a building.
And we will move on. Here is a Game of Thrones question. The world of Game of Thrones is populated with a variety of fantasy creatures. Most of us know the fire-breathing dragons and massive direwolves, but there are other creatures mentioned in the series, like ship-destroying giant squids called krakens, scorpion-tailed lions called manticores, and predatory felines called shadowcats. Yes?
Actually, direwolves are not a fantasy creature. They were real creatures that are just now extinct.
I guess.
I leave it to the experts.
There's something else here.
Okay.
Allie.
Actually, it's not shadowcats. It's shadow felines.
No, that's incorrect. Shadowcats are mentioned. They are a thing in Game of Thrones. Yeah, Shane, coming in again. You got something else to say?
Actually, they're not called manticores. They're called chimeras. The lion creature with the tail.
Yes, the lion creature with the tail. You're talking about chimeras. That is not what we're going for, although you have identified where the issue is, which it is with the manticores. You know what? Fuck it. Shane, just take your point. And, take it. In Game of Thrones, there are things that are called manticores, but those are not manticores as we know them. They are like scorpion-like insects that can be as big as lobsters. They're these just like big poisonous like scorpion things.
They use it in an assassination attempt on Dany?
Yes, they do. Yes, and yes, that was a manticore. There's at least one House of Dorne that has the manticore as like its sigil. It is a thing that exists. It's mentioned multiple times, and it's just needlessly confusing that they would call that a manticore when it's in a fantasy world, and we know fantasy manticores to be something else. Something George R. R. Martin loves to do, just being like, let's change the spelling of sir for no reason. Let's make manticores something else, and let's just generally fuck people over.
The centaurs are just fish.
Yeah. Well, this brings us to our final shiny question of the game. This is a game called Order Up. On the other side of these boards, there is a collection of things that should exist within a series. I'm going to ask you to place them in their correct order. Whoever can find the correct order will get the point. These are Planet of the Apes movies. There have been a lot of Planet of the Apes movies. I want you to place them in order that they were released, not the order that they occur chronologically within the story.
Now I gotta redo them.
Obviously, like a little bit of hints there, just looking at production values on the covers, but that can only get you so far. Again, this is the order in which these movies were released, not the order that the storyline plays out in. Okay, so Shane, why don't you tell us our titles here going down the line?
All right, so we have the original Planet of the Apes, beneath Planet of the Apes, which I know is the second one. Then it gets hazy. I have Battle for Planet of the Apes, Escape from Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, then the weird Tim Burton one, then Rise, Dawn, and War.
You have 6 in their correct spot. 3 of them are jumbled around.
I wonder which ones.
I wonder, could it be the part where you said it gets a little hazy? Well,
Could be there.
Let's go ahead. Let's see what Goot's got.
Okay. Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes,
Okay.
Escape from the Planet of the Apes,
Okay.
Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, then the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, then Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and finally War for the Planet of the Apes.
That is the totally correct order.
Wow.
So, Allie, let's see how you did.
Yeah, so I haven't seen any of the Planet of the Apes, but I did tuck my son in before I woke up to be on the show. He was not happy that I was leaving. But then I went to my daughter's room, and she was fast asleep. And I went to McDonald's on my way to work, even though I promised myself I would stop doing that.
Sure.
You know, it's like
It's not-
empty
it's not-
calories
Yeah.
at a time when you need energy.
Okay. Are you curious to know how many? Because I
Absolutely not. I can see the colors on other people's boards. I would be shocked if I got one right.
did you at least start with the original Planet of the
Of
Apes?
course not. This one looked old as fuck. So I
Which
went-
one did you start with?
Escape.
Okay.
All right, yeah, let's do this. Tell me
yeah.
if I got one
Okay,
right.
great.
I have Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes. War for the Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes. Which I've found out is the first one, and I have it at 7. Dawn, Rise.
I like that you imagined Planet of the Apes, then War for Planet of the Apes, and then they're like, let's just fucking reboot Planet of the Apes. That one really wasn't working out. Allie, I'm proud to say you have one correct.
Yeah, which one?
You have Conquest of the Planet of the Apes in the right spot.
Cool.
Oh, you had Dawn as well?
Dawn is correct.
Oh, Dawn is
Second
correct.
to
So you got
last.
2. You have 2.
That's 2 points. Great.
So that is a point for Goots.
Wow.
I only know the order because I have not seen all of the Planet of the Apes. However, I have watched the documentary of the making of the Planet of the Apes series multiple times.
I heard that was cool.
It's amazing. Roddy McDowall hosts it. It's fascinating. But every time they come to the next movie and then they're like, and then the budget was halved. And they just keep talking about it like, well, we just had no money to make a movie, but they wanted to make a movie. So let's take them to modern times. We'll put them in San Francisco so we don't need to build anything. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. And finally, like the battle for the Planet of the Apes is essentially just them in a field with a school bus. That's all they could afford.
I was gonna say this is the most budget one because that's just straight up a woman's wig.
Yeah.
Like, this is a bob, and they were like, "Just don't cut it. We have to return it."
I think that might actually have been Paul Williams' original hair that he was just wearing.
Well, this brings us to our final question of the game. As always, this concerns real-life skills. As if it weren't hard enough already, when you're pregnant, there are a number of restrictions on what you're supposed to eat. If you're pregnant, it's recommended you limit your intake of or completely avoid consuming caffeine, tuna, alcohol, yogurt, sprouts, sushi, unheated deli meat, and soft cheeses. Allie.
Actually, my girlfriend's a doula and would scream at that entire question because you're not supposed to limit any of those foods. But I know that's not the answer that you're looking for.
That's not what most medical professionals
But
would probably
the
say.
grasping control of masculine doctors on the feminine natural process of birth is suffocating, and you can eat whatever the fuck you want. You can smoke a joint and give birth in your own home. I love you so much.
Well, I don't think I'll give you a point for that, but I appreciate
Wow,
you.
trap.
Hey, listen,
Wow.
I'm just a part of the Patreon too. I'm here to reaffirm those girders.
I'm just gonna, wow.
That's fair. That's fair. Shane.
Actually, sprouts are fine.
They're not, no. They're particularly prone towards bacteria. Yeah.
Actually, yogurt is fine.
That's correct, yes. Yogurt is actually supposed to be really great.
It's fine.
you go-
Just that one is fine.
It's
okay?
fine. Well, that makes Goots our winner of this episode, who will be rejoining us in a couple episodes to play the other 2 winners of the other 2 episodes. So we will look forward to seeing you again soon, Goots. The other 2 of you can fuck right off. Get out of here. But no, thank you very much for playing. And join us next time for even more pedantic corrections here on Actually.